Hey all, welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and today we have a couple special guests that I've had on before. I have Jason Logsdon and Mike LeChartie of the International Sous Vide Association, and we're going to talk about the 2020 Sous Vide Summit that is set for August 21st to the 23rd, going virtual this year so everybody can participate. I'll be right back with Jason and Mike.
Smoking, grilling, getting hot and hotter, sous vide and chilling from fire and water.
Hey all, I want to welcome back Inkbird Products as a sponsor of the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Inkbird makes many great different temperature controllers, thermometers, all kinds of time and temp controllers. But one of the best things that they make is their new Sous Vide circulator that includes Wi-Fi, 1,000 watts of power, and super quiet at a really affordable price. It's one of my top picks for a budget Sous Vide circulator for people who are just getting started. Make sure you check it out in the link below. Check out Inkbird. Welcome back, Inkbird Products, to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. Welcome back to the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and we have a couple of returning guests today. A couple of great friends of mine that are the International Sous Vide Association. We have Jason Logsdon and Mike LeChartie. Welcome, guys. Welcome back.
Thanks for having us. Always a joy to be here.
Yeah, it's always fun. So we're grateful to be back.
And this is going to be a special edition of the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast, and we are going to be talking about strictly the International Sous Vide Association's Sous Vide Summit for 2020, which is coming up August 21st to the 23rd. And due to unfortunate events of the actual whole year of 2020, it is going to be virtual, but it's a good thing, I think, for a lot of people who maybe not able to attend it if it was done in person, where they had to actually, travel and have the expense and time of traveling. This is going to be virtual, and it's going to be anybody can access it from their computers and with an internet connection this year. So let's talk about that. Let's first talk about the International Sous Vide Association. We'll kind of touch on that, and then what the Sous Vide Summit is, just so people know before we get too deep into the summit. Jason, why don't you go ahead first?
So the International Sous Vide Association, we are a community organization, as we like to say, of sous vide enthusiasts. It's people ranging from home cooks that are just getting started and might have got a sous vide machine, for a birthday gift, all the way up through professional chefs who use it in their Michelin restaurants. And we have a wide range of, people and interests, and it's just all people that like sous vide, want to learn more about sous vide, and, are interested in learning more information and just becoming better cooks, whether that's at home or in their professional kitchens.
And so, Mike, you are the heart and soul of the ISVA. Jason's kind of like the pretty boy model that you put out there. And
that's a sad statement.
And Mike, you're the one that does all the real work. So how did you get started with this, putting this thing together?
It's funny. I was telling this story earlier today, and I hadn't in like months, but I had this vision a while back. I'm an event planner by trade, and I had done this site visit at, a convention center in a real small little city. And they were cleaning up from a convention from the Tiny Figurine Collectors of America or something like that. And I just remember thinking, wow, there's an association of tiny figurine collectors, and I had just gotten into sous vide, come down a couple years later, and I'm like, wait a minute, tiny figurine collectors have an association. There's like thousands of sous vide cooks on social media. Why don't we, why don't we get together and hang out and do conferences and cook for each other? And I don't know about you, but that is what brings me the most joy in life, is sharing a meal with people. And so I reached out to Jason, and, a couple of weeks later, the vision was there, and here we are about to embark on our second conference, which is, it's an unbelievable feeling, really, from having the seed of the idea to being on the doorstep of number two. It's just awesome.
Yeah, and I'm thankful that you guys reached out to me early on too, and it's the passion. Just like you said, the tiny figurine people are probably the same as passionate about tiny figurines as we are
Yeah.
about cooking. I mean, I love sous vide, but I just love cooking in general,
Yeah.
and the whole reason I started doing what I'm doing is because of my love of cooking and teaching and showing people things that I learn. And I know, Jason, that's kind of where you started, is, learning and then trying to teach others that were like you, and you were looking for information, you were trying to provide it. And that's similar to what I do. Jason, you've written how many books now on sous vide?
Like 13, I want to say, around about.
So, I mean,
More than fingers to count them all.
Yeah, once I lost track on my hand, I was like too big a number for me.
Yeah, and then you guys are just like me. You get passionate about something, and you learn as much as you can. You study and you practice and you experiment and you do all this stuff so you can take it back to other people and say, "Here's what I've discovered. Here's what I've done. Here's what I've learned." And then you try to help other people. And that's what the whole Sous Vide International Sous Vide Association is to me, and then especially the Sous Vide Summit. So I can see where you got that idea from and said, "Hey, this is a passion. This isn't something. It's not a money making scheme or anything like that." I know it's not, because
We wish.
because if you got paid what you were worth, the work that you put into it, you'd probably be a millionaire. But it's these type of things. Even what I do, I mean, I don't do it for the money. I do it, for. I'm in the hole all the time. My wife always looks at me and goes, "Is this thing ever going to make any money?" And it's like, I don't do it for that. I don't golf. I don't, do any other, I don't drink a whole lot. I don't, have any other hobbies. This is what I like to do. So,
Yep.
this is where I spend my time and my money. But so let's talk about the Sous Vide Summit. We had a couple of podcast episodes talking about last year's and all that. Let's kind of just touch base on what happened last year, and then we'll kind of walk into what's going on this year.
Cool. Yeah, last year was in the very same city where I had the Tiny Figurine Collector of America moment in Wilmington, Delaware. So that was kind of full circle.
It was destiny.
It was destiny, but gosh, what an incredible weekend it was. I mean, about 130, 140 just lovers of sous vide in all shapes and forms came together. And of course, our title sponsors last year were Crayon Cuisine Solutions, and they just blew everybody out of the water with everything that they did. And Polyscience and Vacmaster and all of these amazing companies that stood behind us and really helped us make the vision a reality. Lots of fantastic food. We had, I think we had about 24 speakers last year, 24, 25. And just a whole bunch of great sessions ranging from everything from, sous vide Q to sous vide beyond steak on through sous vide pie making.
Cryo concentration.
Yes. And I think what was really special last year, and what this kind of goes back to why we're here and what the association is all about, the community building between the professionals and the home cooks and everybody. It was just something special to kind of behold. That sounds trite, but you've got these Crayon Cuisine Solutions that are like, the most experienced, like their chief scientist is Dr. Bruno Gusseau, who invented the method. And like, they know more, AJ's forgotten more than I will ever know if I were to go to school for the rest of my life, and Gerard. And then you've got all of the home cooks, and the pros are sharing with us that, wow, I didn't know people actually use sous vide for that, because the home cooks were experimenting with things. It was just a really cool interplay of different people from different walks of life coming together, sharing a passion and enjoying a great weekend together.
Go ahead, Jason.
What surprised me the most was, with so many different speakers, I was expecting to go in that I've been doing sous vide for a decade. I know a lot about it. Dave Petranczyk from Polyscience has been selling it in some of the top kitchens in the world for at least as long. There's a lot of people that are really, really knowledgeable about sous vide, and so I expected it to be good, but to not necessarily come away with like learning a whole ton just because I've been sous videing for a really long time. And there were so many different sessions that I learned stuff in, and you would look over and you'd see, David was taking notes in the crowd, even though he teaches, Michelin chefs like how to use sous vide in their restaurants. And I don't think there's a single person that attended, whether a speaker or just an attendee, that didn't learn new things about sous vide that they had no idea that it could be used for.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that attracted me to the whole idea and the association and the event is it's not just an industry event. It's not just for, professional chefs or people that are in the industry, that work for, the equipment manufacturers or suppliers or what have you. You have a bunch of these, weirdos like me and you that are just love to experiment and try new things and love to learn and like you said, teach. I mean, I know that I talked to Meathead after I had him on after last year's summit, and he said he sat in just about every speaker's event that he could and took notes, and he learned a whole lot that he never even knew, even though he's, been, playing around with sous vide and barbecue, before I even started doing it. He, that's the thing. When you get a bunch of people that are, enthusiastic and excited about something, and they love to learn and try new things, we can all teach each other something. And
yeah,
that's what I got from everybody that I talked to that attended last year. That's what it was. It was all these, regular people getting together with, industry, experts and all learning from each other, which I think that's what makes this a lot better, event than, let's say, a industry event, or something like that, like just a, professional, chef's event or something like that.
Yeah. Mike and I's philosophy going into it and what we tend to tell our speakers is we have two roles for our speakers, and that's to entertain, because ultimately we want this to be a fun event and we want them to be entertaining up there. And secondly, we want them to teach someone. We want the audience to come away from the session going, okay, I'm going to do that as soon as I get home, that they learn something that they want to try to apply in their own cooking. And that could be a home cook, that could be a professional chef, but we want them to have a takeaway that they can do something interesting with. And to your point about industry specific things, like we agree with that, our general speakers for this year's conference, we have 30 sessions and all of them are stuff that the home cooks can apply. And to address the professional chefs, because they can learn a lot from a lot of those sessions as well. They're not, just for a home cook, but, how to cook an amazing, chocolate custard pie that works for a restaurant or for a home. But to address the chefs and the industry people, we have a separate industry track. And there it's talking about, streamlining your restaurant menu and HACCP plans and things that chefs really care about, but the home cooks aren't going to be concerned about. The other 30 sessions should apply equally to, pretty much any level of sous vide knowledge.
Yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here real quick, and just so people can see what we're talking about. So this is the website, and you can find it going to theisva.org and clicking on Summit 2020. And this kind of will tell you who is speaking. So we got 3 people up there. Go ahead and I'll let Mike introduce them left to right there.
Yeah, so left to right, keynote speaker, Master Chef Rich Rosendale. Super excited to have him on board this year. He does a lot of sous vide stuff. He actually has an event center, basically a convention center in Atlanta, and they do a ton of sous vide prep, for their events down there. Of course, AJ Schaller, executive chef for Crea, in the center, and she's going to be doing a session Friday night about pro tips for the home cook. So sort of marrying some of what helps the restaurant professionals and can really make a big impact in preparation for the home cook. And then, of course, Chef James Brischon from the Food Network, and he has a great restaurant called Angelina's now in Pensacola, Florida, that he started up 2 weeks before last year. We're very excited for him because he was supposed to be keynoting last year, and then he had flight cancellations and couldn't get up to Delaware. So at long last, we will have him presenting, and there will be no flight delays.
Oh, excuses this year.
Oh,
chef.
excuses. That's right. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through here, and it just tells you that we're going virtual. And, unfortunately, that's just the way I think a lot of things are going. I mean, I think there's events that are planned for October and November that are being canceled right now that people thought that they were going to be able to pull off. But it's
Well,
just,
and oh, sorry, Darren.
no, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, to your point about earlier talking about the benefits of virtual, I mean, we had 24 speakers last year. We have 32 no, we have 35 this year with the Pro Track. So we're able to offer a lot more content because we're not dealing with hotel real estate, and we were able to really engage some community members who wanted to be a part of it, and we had space. So we're really excited about that.
Yeah. And, like I said, too, you don't have to worry about, and last year, all the speakers were, unless they worked for a manufacturer or company that they were representing, they were on their own dime as far as travel expenses and stuff, and then taking the time to do it. So to have as many people as you did, for the, first one that you did last year is amazing. But, hopefully we can get a lot more, even though there's a lot of other things going on this year. Hopefully we can get a lot of more people, interested and involved. And let's talk about that a little bit while I got this up. You do have the home cook agenda and the Pro Track agenda, like you said, giving you that, for somebody that's in the industry, if you're a chef, you have different things that you're looking at. Like you said, the health regulation rules and stuff that Korea can help you out with, and cooking for massive amounts of people in different things, where the home chef might not really care about learning that kind of stuff. But both of those are going to be available, not just live. So I want people to understand that you don't have to attend just because the event is a 3-day event. You don't have to show up live every time. They will be able to have access. If you have the VIP or the Pro Track ticket, you will be able to get those recorded sessions at a later date, correct?
Yep,
Correct.
all the sessions will be recorded, and if you have one of those 2 tickets, you can check them out at your own leisure at any point. The benefits of attending live, if you have that type of that time and the inclination, is all of our speakers, or 95% of our speakers, will be there giving their presentation live. We'll have a 10 to 15 minute Q&A after each session where you can, directly talk to them and ask them questions and try to get, everything answered that you might be, that might come up in their presentation. And then on Friday night, we're having a cocktail hour where we're having breakout rooms with some of our presenters and sponsors. You can, go to a room if you want to talk barbecue. I heard there might be a fun little room that you are co-hosting, Darren, with.
Yeah, me and Meathead are going to be co-hosting one on barbecue and sous vide. So
you can hop into a Zoom room with Darren and Meathead and give them a hard time. And, so that's some of the benefits of attending live, but we know it's not easy for everyone, especially if you're at home and not at a conference center, to carve out that much time. So, with the VIP or the chef's track, you get access to those recordings for as long as you want. And you can, kind of pick and choose which ones you want to listen to.
So I'm showing the 3 different options for tickets right now on the screen. So you got the weekend ticket, which is, your basic, you get access to the live events pretty much. And that's about it. So for an extra $50, you get all the downloadable sessions, any PDF copies that they might have of their presentations and all that, hands-on cooking events, pretty much everything that you'd want to have access to. And of course the Pro Track, you get a little bit extra because of the it's more focused on the industry and a little bit more technical stuff going on there. So definitely the VIP ticket is the way to go if you're a home chef and you're wanting to take part in all of the stuff that's going to interest you, for sure.
Absolutely.
So the Pro Track, let's start with the Pro Track speakers here. We'll just kind of touch on each one. So these are going to be specifically talking about industry type stuff. So you got, Gerard Brischon. How do you say that? I can't do French people's
I think
names.
it's Berthelon. or something like that. It's my
We apologize, Gerard.
Yes.
Please,
Yes.
please
I'm
don't stop
sorry.
working with us.
yes.
You got to say the French guy's name's in French accent when you say it. So what is he going to be talking about?
So he's going to be sharing just about food safety in general, but how sous vide can really help. There's a lot of advantages that it has in the kitchen with food safety, with labor efficiency, and really saving on waste. So he's going to be focusing a lot on where sous vide can impact really down to the restaurant's bottom line in a host of different ways.
So the Pro Track is really important to people in the restaurant business because of the way sous vide has been looked at by health departments around the country, because of the fact that they can't wrap their heads around the cooking times that are under the USDA guidelines and all that.
Yep.
How far has that come in the last 10 years with them? When you got people like the industry like Korea out there training and teaching, is it still kind of in the dark ages with the health departments, or are they starting to open their eyes a little bit?
The fun thing about the health departments is they are generally on a town or county basis. So it 100% depends on which town or county you're talking about. That there's some that, a chef might have already done the hard work there and convinced them that it is safe. And so in their area, it's super easy to set one up. And the town, just one town over might be still completely impossible to get any sous vide HACCP stuff in it. And that's one of the things that Harmeet's going to be talking about is kind of what goes into a HACCP plan and how you can kind of talk to health departments, because Correa and Rich Rosendale and some of the other people have worked with hundreds of health departments across the country trying to convince them that here's the science, just please look at the science and you will see that it's safe. And the health inspectors go, this isn't what I learned 40 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's got to be the kind of a frustrating thing. When I had AJ on last year, we kind of discussed it, and I know I talked to Kevin about it too because he went through the training there at Korea as well, and it's just it boggles my mind that they can be so just back in time. They don't want to look at anything new, and it's not the the restaurants, which you still have some chefs that are kind of like that they poo-poo sous vide because they weren't taught it in culinary school. And but now you got now you're fighting against the the health inspectors and all that in different regions. So it looks like there's definitely a track that the pros need to that us as home cooks don't have to worry about. I don't have the health department coming and knocking on my door telling me I got to cook something, to 165 degrees. But I can definitely see where it's going to be very beneficial for, professional chefs and restaurateurs and people who run restaurants.
Sorry, I was going to say, even those people who work in retirement homes, in food and beverage, people who run college dining campus programs, any of these industries, especially right now where everybody's been impacted by COVID in these industries specifically, funding is at a low. Like, all of these sessions are not designed to tell you how to cook a steak in your restaurant.
Right.
They're designed at really exploring the way sous vide can impact your business, and even down to Rich Rosendale's offering, he's talking about adding a prepared foods sort of menu. That's something that I think is a huge opportunity for restaurants in this time, especially where we don't know how long this is going to go, but being able to have a prepared foods offering that people can just come and buy from you and it's ready to go. And there's just a lot here that's really focused on helping restaurants to be more efficient and to get through kind of what we're going through right now and beyond.
Yeah, like Alexis Kukua is talking about streamlining restaurant and kitchen footprints, about how you can use sous vide to, put out the same amount of food with a lot less people in a lot safer manner, which right now is a huge concern. If you if it's government mandated that you can only have half as many people working in your kitchen, then if you can still put out the same amount of food by applying sous vide, then it can be a huge benefit to a lot of different restaurants.
Yeah.
And I could see where, is Michael Kelly going to talk about how it can help you with, your food cost as well? Is that, because that's what it looks like. He's going to kind of focus on, vacuum sealing and chilling. And, I could see where sous vide can help with the food cost, because that's your number one expense in a restaurant is food waste.
Yes. And that's a lot of what that will focus on for sure.
Cool. All right. Well, let's kind of move along, and then you got your keynote speakers here. Chef
Those
James.
are all the things that will help restaurants make money. Now on to the fun stuff that will help us make great food.
Yeah. Well, exactly. I don't have a restaurant, but I can understand. I've worked in the restaurant business, and I know that's one of the top things is being able to, keep your food costs down and being able to get the food in front of the customer hot, safe, and delicious. So, and I know sous vide can do all of that.
Yep.
So you got these two famous chefs here. Let's talk about them for a little bit.
Yeah. They, I mean, this comes back to one of those moments like at the beginning of the association where we're like, hey, James, Jason's met you a couple of times. Would you like to be part of this? And he's like, this sounds awesome. Yes. Hey, Dave from Poly, both of these chefs are incredibly accomplished and sorry, muting that phone call so you guys don't hear anything. Both of them are just incredibly accomplished and huge players in the food game in general. And so it's an honor for us to be able to host them. Of course, James Brischon has his background as the former director of culinary research for ICE. And he has a lot, his restaurant is like a coastal Gulf themed Italian. So he does a lot of Italian food, and that's, he'll be incorporating some of that, and he'll also be talking about flavor pairings because of his work with IBM and the Chef Watson project and his book, The Flavor Matrix. So
if you want to learn a lot about flavor pairings and about how different flavors go together and come up with some crazy, like different flavor combinations that you would have never thought of on your own, you should check out the Chef Watson book and the Flavor Matrix book. They're both just amazing references for, especially if you like coming up with your own recipes. They can be great creative jump off points for coming up with your own really cool stuff.
Yep, absolutely. And then Rich Rosendale, of course, is one of the just king chefs of our time. He has his Rosendale Collective. He does a lot of sous vide training, but even outside of sous vide, he trains on modernist. He trains on all sorts of different things, and he does these around the world. Of course, he's been on Food Network, had his own food TV shows as well, and he has a fantastic restaurant in Northern Virginia, and does a lot of sous vide prepared foods as well for restaurants and all of that kind of stuff, and trainings on HACCP and everything under the sun. So we're just super thrilled to have these two guys that are going to kind of headline the conference this year. It's a big honor for us.
So and everybody, the VIP and Pro tracks will be able to watch their keynotes. So.
All the tracks will get their keynotes. Yep. Yeah. Even the basic the basic $49 one gets access to everything live. It's just the recordings and the breakouts that they will, not be able to see everything.
Gotcha.
But the keynotes will be. Yep.
So let's get down to the the rest of us. But plenty of different topics and things going on here, especially with, I know Lloyd is one of those guys who is like me and you, that never was a professionally trained, didn't go to culinary school, but has a love and a passion for experimentation and trying new things and learning and researching. Me and Lloyd are kind of like the same, but he goes a lot lot deeper down the rabbit hole than I do on some of this stuff. And
Yep.
if you've ever, just checked out the kosher dojo, I've had Lloyd and Kevin on a couple different times, and we've talked about some stuff that people, probably cross their eyes and scratch their head. And why would they even think of doing some of these things? But, but I've also had Paul and Chris on from, the New Pie, talking about how they used, sous vide for pies, which, those guys are awesome as well. I got their book. They sent me an autographed copy of their book as well. So,
I love that book. I've been working on Jason to make his wife the pie that she so desires out of that book.
Kevin and Carmen Co. They're also pretty great. When they first started posting videos, I automatically subscribed to their channel and was telling them, hey, keep it going. Let's go. You guys are doing a great job. They come from a media background, so they had some chops for it, but they have a great personality. You like watching them. They do some really cool stuff that nobody else is doing with Asian, food that it's really got them really popular really fast because, you can find a, sous vide steak on YouTube really easy, but, not a lot of people doing Asian food, and they do some really cool stuff. So
yeah,
a lot of
one of their recipes, Jason, was it the Chinese barbecue pork?
Yeah, I used their char siu glaze on pork shoulder.
Awesome.
Very, very good.
And then you got Kevin, of course, which will just skip right by him. No. Kevin in his own right is very knowledgeable, and I'm gonna listen to his probably a couple different times because he goes down the rabbit hole like Lloyd does too. So
I'm also really excited for Stefan's presentation. It's going to be on reinterpreting Italian classics, and he's a huge fan of Italian cooking, and he really goes deep into can sous vide be used to help improve the flavor melding of a ragu sauce, and can you use it for octopus carpaccio? And he's done some really interesting dishes that I've never even thought about approaching. So I'm really curious to see how he approaches it. And he's very much of a kind of going down the rabbit hole as well, that he'll be interested in a topic and do 8 different experiments to kind of see what the outcome is for him.
So he's the most Italian non-Italian I've ever known. And he's been to Italy so many times that, his name's Stefan, and in Italy is Stefano. He has his Italian name. He's actually, I think, in Malta right now. He is a purist with Italian cooking. He's an absolute, it must be traditional. It must be, maybe not cooked that way since we're doing sous vide, but it has to embody the traditional dish in every sense. And so that'll be really cool. I'm excited.
Yeah. Then you got you guys. I don't know what you guys are going to talk about, but whatever. The meathead.
Nothing important.
Nothing important. You're just going to stand up. Yeah.
We can't hold a candle to Chelsea Cole, who's going to be there for Vesta, and she's going to be talking about sous vide chicken in several different ways, I believe, which should be a real interesting look at it. So we can't compete with some of them, but I'll be talking about exploring temperature by using a chuck roast and cooking it 4 or 5 different ways, so people can kind of see what the different temperatures, how it affects texture in a really kind of granular look.
Mike, what are you going to talk about? Just the ice.
I'm going to talk about how beautiful Jason is. No, I'm going to talk about different sauces, both sous vide and also as immersion blender sauces. I'm on a burger kick. You guys have probably noticed I've been doing a heck of a lot of sous vide burgers lately, and I do a lot of immersion blender aiolis and that kind of stuff to serve with seafood and whatnot. And it's just a neat technique, and the flavors that you can get out of it to complement a dish are really cool. So I'm going to kind of go down the rabbit hole with those things a little bit.
So I don't want to spend an hour on everybody's, but Meathead's going to talk about sous vide Q again this year, and probably expand on a little bit from what he did last year because he's learned a lot more. He put out his sous vide Q book, little booklet, I guess you would call it, on Amazon, which, I've helped promote that as well. He actually gives it away if you join the Pitmaster Club on AmazingRibs.com.
Yep.
And it's only $4. And if you have the Kindle Unlimited on Amazon, it's actually free. So, but it's a good little book that, goes through the basics of sous vide and barbecue. Now, the other guys I'm not too familiar with, so I want you guys to kind of...
Yeah, so a few of the other sessions, Dave Petransic's going to come back with his Beyond Steak and Eggs that he did last year, but he'll do it differently because the response to that was just awesome. And Dave's also it kills me that I only see steak going on the Facebook news feed. Christina is going to talk about how to photograph brown food, which I'm really excited about with stew season coming up. James, of course, is going to talk about beef, how to determine temperature based on the muscles. Tim McGinnis is going to give a really interesting talk on engaging the younger generation with sous vide. He's a professor, or he's a culinary instructor, but he teaches high school students. And so he's going to be talking about just using the technology to excite and invigorate kids and get them into the kitchen and get them sort of thinking in a different way. Ali Romero is going to be doing a sous vide fish taco and demo. And if you saw that on Instagram the other day, it looked pretty incredible. Yeah. Doug Piper is going to talk about sous vide brewing, which I didn't even know was the thing, but yes, you can make beer in sous vide.
And I personally am very excited for Philip Preston's presentation. When I got into sous vide, 10 years ago, I was just starting a blog. I was a nobody, and I reached out to Polyscience just to get some information. And, he sent me a circulator to test out, and I was, just a no one at the time, and he believed in me and believed in what I was doing. And he's continued to work with me and support what I've done over the last decade. And so I'm really excited to hear him talk about, I think it's from the lab to the kitchen. And he talks about coming up with the circulators and, working with some of the best chefs in the world to, put circulators in their kitchen and help them figure out how to best use it and use it in their own stuff. So I think that should be some fascinating stories that he's had.
Yeah. He and Chris Young are also in their session separately going to touch on kind of the new wave of sous vide, what's coming, what does it look like in 5-10 years? So I'm excited for that because, these are two of the pioneers in the industry from the tech side, and just to kind of see what they're thinking is coming next and what they're working on, it's going to be pretty exciting.
Yeah, no, I know that Phil, Polyscience was a laboratory equipment manufacturer that kind of stumbled into because Bernard Gusteau actually got a hold of him and said, "Hey, I've been using your laboratory circulators for cooking," and it really got Philip intrigued, and he went and met with him and designed a whole line of started putting together sous vide specific circulators. So yeah, it's a pretty amazing story how those two kind of met up and started putting those stuff together. So
they still pretty much manufacture lab equipment. If you look at some of their stuff, like the Rotovap, and I don't even know what the heck it is, but like the ultrasonic emulsifier or something. Sorry, I butchered that. It's still, to me, is like, mad scientist lab equipment that chefs are using to do really fascinating things.
And then, of course, you got Eric Villegas.
He's going to demonstrate from his home state the sous vide beef pasty, which I believe I'm saying correctly, according to the Detroitans. But really, that recipe is really interesting because he cooks all of the components separately sous vide and then assembles it into the final pastry. So he's going to do that, and then he's also doing one of our cook-along lunches on Saturday, a Juicy Lucy. So that'll be fantastic.
And we know that Justice is probably going to talk about, exotic meats. That's one of his specialties.
He's actually going for lobster this year.
No way.
Yeah.
Chef Justice's Lobsterlicious Pasta, I think is
that's good.
What he's putting together.
He does some amazing stuff too, and especially with the exotic stuff. Like he was on Jason's show the other day, and I always like interacting with Justice. He's pretty cool. I've had him on my podcast before too, as well as AJ. AJ, I'm sure, is going to talk about what Kreia has been doing and some of the amazing things that they put out.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing an update about some of what Kreia's doing, and then she'll be doing a lot of talk about pro tips for the home cooks. So you can take some of the things that the pros do that you can apply to your own home cooking to really kind of boost the flavors.
And what's Cole got planned for this year?
It's a good question.
It is.
We're waiting for Cole's final topic to come rolling in from him. So if you're listening, Cole, we'd love to get an idea of what your topic is so we can publish it.
And I had Mark Webb on my podcast. He'll be on, I think right about the week of right before the summit's going to be on. So we talked about some of the stuff that he does. I don't want to spoil it because he goes down a rabbit hole too, with some of the stuff that he works on. Aroma science guy is something that he does a lot of stuff that you scratch your head on and you go, wow.
It's funny because when Jason had him on the show, exploring Sous Vide, I think you and Kevin were commenting in the comments, oh, it's the Aussie Lloyd, and this and that. And he sent me a message. He's like, who's Lloyd? Wait, what is this? I don't get it. But they really are. The two of them are just opposite sides of the world. But
they even look alike. They look similar. Lloyd is got the big beard, bushy hair going on, and but they get down into the nitty gritty and stuff. So it's going to be great. I had James Peisker on too. So.
Of course, we have your presentation too, Darren. You want to give a preview of the best presentation of the conference?
Well, since Meathead's going to talk mostly about sous vide and barbecue and the processes, I'm pretty much going to just talk about how you can combine two different cooking methods, of course, sous vide and barbecue, and make something that you cannot make any other way with either one of the cooking methods on their own or with any other cooking method. So it's things like that I try, especially in my Facebook groups and all that, to get people to understand is that sous vide is not just for cooking a perfect steak or chicken breast or pork chop. Yeah. It does much more than that. And I know that there's other people that say that, but I try to show people that the same way. It's not a gadget like a Instapot. It's a whole process and method that does so many things, and the ranges of that the time and temps can do and what you can put within those ranges is just unbelievable to me, that what you can actually do with that method, especially when you start combining it with other cooking methods as well. And then it's and that's what I want to show people. So
that's awesome.
I can't wait to hear it. I always learn stuff when I listen to your presentations and your discussions, because you dive deep into a lot of stuff that I only scratched the surface of. So I'm excited.
Well, and I think with barbecue, most barbecue people think you have to cook something a certain way at a certain temperature with a certain, binder on it and a certain rub. That's how you cook it every single time. And I'm totally opposite of that. I want to be able to cook a brisket, 12 different ways, with different outcomes and tastes and doneness levels and all that. And not just, it's like, okay, I could have a plain hamburger every single day, or I can, just like burgers are great, but I can make a burger how many different ways, how many different ways do you cook chicken? You don't just cook a roasted chicken every time,
Yep.
So I always like experimenting and trying new things and creating new stuff and learning. And even, and Sous Vide offers such a big wide range of what it can do. And especially when you start mixing it with other things, that's what really got me excited. When I first started looking at Sous Vide, I said, wow, I can use this with, cooking outdoors, and combined it and make different stuff that I couldn't make just before. So that's what I'm going to really talk about.
Awesome. I've been doing a lot of like sous vide and deep frying fusion lately, and I did a pork burger where I did the pork patty, I cooked it sous vide, and then panko crusted it and fried it, and it was just so juicy. Like if you took a raw patty and panko crusted it and fried it, that would not have happened. You
Yeah.
know, it's just, you can't get it, but you also can't get the crispy fried texture just with sous vide. So,
Yeah.
you
I
know,
mean, one of the first things that, and I was just playing around. I sous vide, you know, a spatchcock chicken, and then I said, well, I'll put it on the smoker and just try to get it hot and, you know, crisp it up. And then I had the thermometer in it to measure the temp the whole time after I took it out of the sous vide. And of course, you know, it's the exact temp after you take it out of the sous vide.
yeah,
I cooked it, happened to be 148 because I kind of go right in the middle of where I want my white meat and my dark meat.
yep,
And so I put it right at 148, and I watched the temperature. I had the grill set at like, I think 375, and I put the chicken on, and I tried to watch to see how fast the temp rose on the chicken, because people are going, oh, it's going to be, you know, 500 degrees and the chicken's going to go, you know, overcook in 10 minutes. It literally took it over a half hour for the temperature to even start rising internally on the chicken.
Oh.
And I think it, you know, it really perplexed me, but I think it has something to do with, just like when you're barbecuing, it's the stall when you're doing a brisket or a pork butt, when it hits that evaporative cooling stage, like 160, where you're losing moisture from the meat. So it's not really going to, the internal temperature doesn't rise at all for a while. And that similar effect happens when you throw something from the sous vide onto the grill. It doesn't, you know, start climbing, you know, right away. So you have time for it to get some smoke, get the skin crispy or what have you. So things like that I learned are, you know, what, you know, started making me go, wow, this thing can do a lot more than I thought it could.
yeah, it's awesome. That's why we built an association around it, because it's just, I mean, it's incredible. And that's my favorite thing about this event, is just seeing all of the amazing ways people are finding to use it. It's just, it's incredible to me how much diversity it has.
So let's go back to the website. So here's some stuff that, you know, the actual sessions. Lloyd's going to talk about sous vide ice cream, which I'm going to probably have to watch that one a couple hundred times.
I think he's doing a chocolate espresso ice cream, something like that. He's going to demo. It looked, he just sent me the recipe. Looks amazing.
So, and anybody can find this on the isva.org and Summit 2020. It's got all the planned sessions, so all the information on what you want to watch. And like I said, the VIP tickets and the Pro Track, you're going to have access not just to the live tracks, but you can be able to go back and watch them anytime you want. It's just want to show if there's anything else on here I want to go over. Yeah, just make sure you check out the website, because everything's on there that you're going to need. Also, you can register right away. I'm going to have a link below for a discount code, and I'm also doing a giveaway for those who register through my link in the description below. You also need to do some other things, but I'm going to have a link to my blog post about the contest. So make sure if you're going to do this, you actually sign up through my blog post, because you have a chance to win a brand new VP 200 chamber sealer from VacMaster. And I have a few other prizes. Prizes pack's going to be worth over $1,000. So,
Wow.
and some of the stuff I'm actually footing the bill for it out of my own pocket. So.
Well, thank you, Darren, from us
that.
to you. We appreciate it.
You guys do so much work. I figured I could help by kicking in some for that to help people get signed up. But make sure you check it out. What else has got planned? We talked about the cocktail party that me and Meathead are going to host one of the rooms, and
Yep.
who else are you going to have doing the cocktail parties on Friday night?
We're reaching out to everyone right now. So my guess is a lot of the presenters are going to be interested in doing it, because we've had people expressing interest throughout the last few weeks that they're looking forward to it. So we're just getting the confirmations starting to come in right now.
Yep.
Cool.
So
One of the things that I'm really excited for is the cook along lunches we're doing. You know, we mentioned Chef Villegas is doing one with the Juicy Lucy and steak fries. Dave Petransik from Polyscience is doing the gourmet home cook lunch, and it is like upscale beef belugi with toasted coconut mai tais and carrot puree. There's like 18 different components going into this dish that he'll have you get all your mise en place ready, and during the hour you're going into lunch, you'll be able to go online with him and cook along with him and ask him any questions and kind of put out this amazing gourmet lunch, which I think is going to be really cool to see.
So
every component of the drink, every component of the meal is basically all a different sous vide prep.
Are you doing any cocktails this year, Jason?
I'm not going to probably do any. I should send out a recipe for going into the cocktail hour. You've convinced me, Darren. I will do an infusion or two to highlight that people could make at home going into the cocktail hour.
Yeah, and we will be sharing. We actually had a chef contribute a recipe, and we asked him to come and demo that at the cocktail hour. So we'll send that recipe out in advance, and then he'll be doing the live demo of putting. I think it was a jalapeno Moscow Mule, something like that. So looked really good.
I know me and Meathead are big winos, so we'll probably be drinking red wine. So
that's allowed.
Yep, I'm with you. So I'll do the cocktail periodically too.
Well, anything else you guys want to talk about before I let you guys go and get prepared?
The other thing I wouldn't mind mentioning is the live interviews that we've been doing, if that's all right, Darren.
Not a problem.
We've been doing on Mondays and Thursdays. We've been doing live interviews with a bunch of the speakers. Darren's been on there. They're all on Facebook Live, and you can see links. Darren normally shares them, or they are in, if you go to the ISVA's page on Facebook. We have James Brischon coming up, which should be really good. Looking forward to that. We have AJ Schaller. We have Doug coming on to talk about brewing beer. So we have a lot of the cool people coming on, and we just chat for an hour, kind of like Darren's podcast in some ways, but we also take your questions because we're live and you get to see all the technical mishaps and, Kevin and Darren coming on and giving us a hard time. And we have a blast on there.
Cocktails.
Yeah, I'm normally drinking, so that's fun. And
yeah, and Mondays I think is about sous vide charcuterie. So that's going to be really, really an interesting one. There's some great stuff coming.
Yeah, I always like to share those too. I'll share them on my Facebook page and the groups and all that too. But they're definitely worth that when you get some of these guys on, just like you had James Pacetta on the other day. And, I had him on my podcast last year because the guy could take some pictures from somebody who just started cooking, not too long ago. And now what he's been able to do, we have the same type of personalities, a lot of us, that when we get into something, we throw ourselves into it like 100%, and try to learn as much as we can and do it the way it should be done and nonstop learning. And I'm not one to toot my own horn at all. I like I said, I do stuff to help other people. But it's just great to see people like that, and Kevin and Carmen too, they get really involved in it and, excited, and they try these new things, and it just gets me going. Makes me happy to see all these new people coming in.
Me too.
Yeah, I think a lot of the audience likes seeing it too, because unlike you, they can't generally have people on their podcast and ask them whatever questions they want to in their normal life. So they enjoy, being able to ask them on the live Q&As, which is always fun.
Yep, exactly. All right, guys. Well, I look forward to the Sous Vide Summit this year. I can't wait to participate and also, watch a lot of these, speakers and events that are going on as well. So make sure you guys check out the isva.org, the Summit 2020. I'll have a link in the description below. Make sure you check it out. I'll have a link to my blog where you can join, actually participate in the contest that I'm doing if you sign up through my link and do some other things that I ask you to do to help support my channel and sous vide in general. You can win a brand new VP200 chamber sealer, circulator set with a vacuum sealer and a few other things. So make sure you check out fireandwatercooking.com. You can find my blog there. But thanks, Jason Logsdon, also from Amazing Food Made Easy. Check out his website and his Facebook group, Exploring Sous Vide. And Mike LeChartie, you don't have a website. So
I don't.
You are the ISV.
So I did just change my Instagram handle last night to Suvangelist. I'm pretty excited about that. So.
Make sure you follow Mike on his Instagram, and he does been doing some burgers lately, that's for sure.
Hey, it's been a lot of fun. I had a gallon of milk to go, so mix some ricotta, make a lasagna burger. Why not?
There you go. I'm sure the kids love it. So,
you think I share?
Well, thanks again, guys. I really look forward to the Sous Vide Summit this year, and it's always fun and great talking to you guys.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us on, Darren. It's always a blast.
All right, I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Well, thanks for joining us on the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast. I want to thank Mike and Jason again for being on, talking about the Sous Vide Summit. Make sure you check out the links below to be a part of the contest that I'm doing, or the giveaway. Make sure you check out the blog post and do everything you need to do to be able to be a part of the giveaway. Join the Sous Vide Summit August 21st to the 23rd. You'll have lots of different information. You'll be able to watch the videos anytime you want. And thanks again for following us. Make sure you follow the Fire and Water Cooking Podcast, Fire and Water Cooking Facebook group and page, Fire and Water Cooking YouTube channel, where you can find this video podcast as well. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you on the next Fire and Water Cooking Podcast.